22 million black victims of Americanism are waking up, and they're gaining a new political consciousness, becoming politically mature. And as they develop this political maturity, they're able to see the recent trends in these political elections. Any minority that has a block of votes that stick together is in a strategic position. Either way you go, that's who gets it. You're in a position to determine who go to the White House and who stay in the doghouse. You're the one who has that power. You and I have never seen democracy. All we've seen is hypocrisy. When we open our eyes today and look around America, we see America not through the eyes of someone who has enjoyed the fruits of Americanism. We see America through the eyes of someone who has been the victim of Americanism. We don't see any American dream. We've experienced only the American nightmare. We haven't benefited from America's democracy. We've only suffered from America's hypocrisy. And the generation that's coming up now can see it and are not afraid to say it. 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 And are not afraid to say it.
And are not afraid to say it. Welcome, welcome, welcome to a special edition of the Black Westchester Power Hour. As I told you all, we're on hiatus till after the 4th of July holiday, but I broke the hiatus because this was a topic that we had to discuss. Many of you may have read an article we posted on June 8th about the White Plains Dems calling for the city of White Plains to apologize to the family and settle the Kenneth Chamberlain case. On Thursday, May 26th, the White Plains Democratic City Committee adopted a resolution regarding the 2011 killing of Kenneth Chamberlain at the hands of the White Plains Police and ongoing police reforms. We urge the city to enter into a reasonable and adequate settlement with the Chamberlain family in which the city acknowledges the officer's culpability in the matter, the resolution states. Today, I have a couple of members of the White Plains Democratic City Committee who wrote the resolution. We have Charlene, Raynor. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Whitson. Thank
you. Now, you are the chairperson, co-chair, or something?
I'm one of the co-chairs. Let me just make a correction. I'm sorry about that. I'm one of the co-chairs, and you alluded to the White Plains City Democratic Committee, but we are the Issues Committee, a part of the White Plains Democratic Committee. So okay. The Issues Committee, we took a couple of projects and made it our own, and that's where we got the resolution for the Kenneth Chamberlain. But it was the Issues Committee, and I am a member of I'm one of the co-chairs along with Evelyn Santiago.
Okay. She's not here yet, and you have
I believe she's coming on.
Okay, and you have another guest, but before I bring any other guests, I want to ask you, so November will be 11 years since the killing of Kenneth Chamberlain at the hands of the White Plains Police. We've been covering this since day one. We've been on top of everything. Why now in May, June 2022 is the Issues Committee releasing or adopting this resolution?
You say why now?
Right.
Because it should have been done 11 years ago.
Well, that's where I was over. So why? Yeah.
So we just know that enough is enough. It's been long enough, and we need to. I'm so sorry.
Not a problem. I didn't turn my ringer down. I need to do that as well.
Evelyn, I'm on the air. Okay, I'll give it to you. I'll send it to you. My co-chair is trying to get on and she can't get on.
Not a problem. That's what happens when we do this. We do this virtual thing. This is one of the things of doing the virtual thing. So
okay, so again, it should have been done 11 years ago. The White Plains Democratic City Committee, we are a committee, but we need to do more. We're Democrats in this city. We're district leaders. We go out and we get signed petitions for people to vote. We try to get people to register, and that's the extent of the White Plains Democratic City Committee. So they
Can I interrupt? That's the extent of the Democratic Party in Westchester. It's not a White Plains thing. I am very critical of many of the municipalities. I don't feel they do enough. I've been back in Mount Vernon for 8 years now. Mm-hmm. For the first time in 8 years, not only do I know who my district leader is, but I've actually met him, and he came
very good.
But for the first time in 8 years.
But see, that's the bad thing.
For the first time in 8 years.
8 years. I've been on the White Plains City Democratic Committee now for 9 years, and I got on it because the Honorable Nadine Hunt Robinson, a Common Council member, was running, and I was helping her out as her campaign manager. And once you get in it, you realize what's happening in our city. Mm-hmm. We don't have enough representation. There's things that are happening that we don't know about, right, and things that should be getting done that are not done. Right. So the Chamberlain case is something that should have been done. No one addressed it. Right. Granted, the mayor, I believe, when Mr. Chamberlain Sr. was killed, had only been mayor for a short period of time. And still, it doesn't matter. That's your police department.
Right.
And something should have been done.
And as mayors want to tell us, they are the CEO of the city, and the buck stops with them on everything else. But stuff like this, it's not their fault, though.
Right. But it is. Those are your employees, and they should be held accountable. And that's what we'll say over and over and over and over. They must be held accountable. So
well, every police commissioner that at most municipalities works at the pleasure of the mayor.
Yes.
So if your police commissioner, if your police department is not doing what it's supposed to be doing, the police commissioner works at the pleasure of the mayor.
Right.
If the mayor wants to sit down and, this is what we're going to be doing. It has to be followed because he works at the pleasure of the mayor. So
you got it.
Yeah.
So again, as you say, why now? When we sat down with our chairman of the White Plains City Democratic Committee, we told them that we wanted to form an issues committee or reopen up the issues committee, which was in our bylaws. And the commissioner, the chairman of our board, selected myself and Evelyn to co-chair. And what we did, we got 8 other people together, and we decided to find what pressing issues there were in White Plains that we wanted to talk about. And number 1 was the Chamberlain case, and number 2 was affordable housing. So those were the 2 things that we set ourselves in. And for a year and a half, we had laser vision and focused only on affordable housing and the Chamberlain case. So we encouraged everyone to watch the killing of Mr. Chamberlain.
The movie, yes.
The movie. We encouraged everyone to watch it. And from that, we got so many biases. People had their own thoughts of what happened. It's fictional. This is not real. This didn't really happen. But yes, it did happen. And it happened in White Plains. But when it got to the point when George Floyd was murdered, and we're out here protesting for George Floyd, forgetting that we have our own George Floyd here in White Plains. So that's when we dove into it. Alan Weintraub, who will probably join us a little later, he was the one who helped write the resolution, as well as telling us we need to read the Second Circuit Court report. And as you're reading the report, you're almost in shock. Pages 7 through 10 of that court case spells out everything. And if you read that, you want to say, why aren't these police officers in jail? Why aren't...
Well, the jury never got to hear a lot of the important evidence.
Exactly.
The jury never got to hear the officers call him the N-word.
Nothing.
But they played the part of the tape where he was more combative responding to them. They played that part of the tape. They we had the qualified immunity where you couldn't go back into the officer's past. And there were so many other things that just were not able to. So the jury did not rule hearing the entire case. There was certain things that were purposely omitted from the jury, and the jury ruled. I mean, probably there was a lot of pressure on them anyway. They ruled how they ruled because not having the whole thing, and an appellate court judge actually overturned that all that stuff has to go back in, and there should be a new case. It should be a new court date.
And rightfully so. How can you have a case where you dismiss all of the basic evidence? How can you dismiss something? And knowing that you had a family member there who could have probably de-escalated everything.
Right, would not let the family member speak, and not to rehash everything, but the most egregious thing of this whole situation is that they went to this apartment for a wellness check, not a criminal complaint. And 90 minutes later, Mr. Chamberlain ends up dead. And some of his last words is, "They're going to kill me. They're going to kill me. They're going to kill me." Those are some of his last words. Because I've heard every version of this tape that you can hear over and over and over until,
And that's just it. And we're constantly, well, not we, but our people are constantly, Black and brown people are constantly being murdered for a mental issue or what they think is a mental issue. But again, you cannot go to a situation, a wellness check, or someone who may be stressed out and try to de-escalate it with a gun. You need the proper people, medical people in there to take care of them. If Mr. Chamberlain set off his alert by accident, do you go there with a gun?
Like that was his only crime. He rolled over and set off his alert.
Right.
And was not coherent enough to respond when the life alert people called, which is why they called the police. But the police, but then they when he did respond and he said he didn't need the police, they called the police and told him they were no longer needed. And they said, "No, we're going to gain entrance." And they acted like because of the address of the building that it was in, that if they broke down that door, they would find guns or drugs or something illegal to justify their actions. Which unfortunately does happen sometimes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They find something to justify their actions. They just knew because of that address that they would find whatever they needed to justify what they were doing.
but
Okay,
it
I'm
wasn't.
going to bring in your co-chair and let you introduce her, and then we're going to bring Alan in next.
Okay. This is Evelyn Santiago. She's, like I said, she is the co-chair of the White Plains City Democratic Committee Issues Committee. The two of us work very well together, along with 8 other people, and Alan Weintraub, who, like I say, was the one who really helped us put together the resolution. So welcome, Evelyn.
Evelyn, I started out asking Charlene, this happened 11 in November, it will be 11 years. In some people's mind, why now? Why are y'all speaking up now?
You know, this is a very new committee. It's a subcommittee of the White Plains Democratic City Committee. And we took a poll of all the issues, and there were many, because COVID was an issue, housing remains an issue, and we polled our members. There are 10 members approximately that represent approximately 1/7 of the entire Democratic City Committee. And so when we polled everybody, police reform came up, and then we had just had the George Floyd murder.
Mm-hmm.
And that became a topic of conversation. And in the discussions with our issues committee, these issues came up, and we decided that it would be disingenuous for us to have any conversations about Black Lives Matter, about people of color, about policing in communities of color, or about anything having to do with people of color, because everyone remained silent up to that point on this one issue. It's like, you can't clean up somebody's house unless you clean your own house. And so it became our thing. It became one of the 2 issues that we decided that we were going to spend the better part of a year addressing in any way that we saw that we could make a difference, albeit a tiny, tiny difference. And so that's the best answer I can give you. Why now? We just happen to get this group of people now that cared enough now. And I know that people say deferred justice isn't justice, but in this case, it's the best we can do. We can try, and we just happen to have the right group of people that cared enough about this one issue, and who wanted to further the discussion about people of color and policing communities of color. And you really can't continue that conversation until we address this. This was like a festering wound. And also, it was 11 years ago. So there's people in our committee that they were like, we were not part of this. We don't want that stank on us. I'm one of them. I'm like, this happened. I don't want this to represent me now that it's a national issue, and now that the film came out and it's a topic of national and international interest and conversation. I don't want that stigma on me. So I needed to, for my own personal, and I think everybody on the committee felt likewise, that, nobody was willing to talk about it, but we were. And
now I asked that question, but I applaud y'all for speaking up about it. I've been one of the people that have been out front and personal on this issue ever since, and will continue to keep it. And that's the reason I wanted to do the show. I want to continue every new aspect of this. I want to continue to bring this up, because there's still people. I talked to somebody recently, and I was talking about Kenneth Chamberlain, and they were like, "Oh, that's the crazy old man that charged the police with the big hatchet, right?" Like, I mean, like, this person really, that's all he knew, and it's 11 years later, and that's all they ever heard. And then I had them watch the movie, and they were like, "Oh, wow." So I say one thing though: the city of White Plains and the White Plains Police Department better be very glad that this movie did not get nominated for an Oscar. Because then you're talking about a whole nother level of attention. So they're lucky about that. That's all I got to say, because I was definitely rooting for them to at least be nominated, because I know what that comes with that. Like, that's a whole nother, then you start getting showings in way more places, and people want to see what's this thing that just got nominated and why. And so yes, they were very lucky about that.
Yeah. That's
I,
true.
I want you to introduce your next guest, and I want to bring him in and bring him part of the conversation. Charlene or Evelyn, would you like to introduce?
Evelyn, you can introduce Alan.
Hi. Okay, so yes, Alan Weintraub is our secretary, but he's so much more than that. He's our researcher. He is our resident professor of law. Because I feel like in the last year, Charlene, correct me if I'm wrong, we have taken a
We went to law school.
level course plus on these issues, and it's thanks to his dedication and his perseverance and just his ability to push us forward. So Alan, hello.
Okay, thank you, Evelyn and Charlene. I'm just going to talk about the Second Circuit Court opinion.
Yes, please.
Because it is, and I talked to a lot of lawyers about this opinion, and it is a unique opinion. The Second Circuit Court of Appeals, as your listeners may not know, is just below the Supreme Court of the United States. So this is a major court. And what occurred here is that the Chamberlain family appealed the decision of the district court and submitted its statement of facts. The city and the police officers submitted their statement of facts. And I urge, and Charlene talked about it, I know the movie is powerful, but I will submit to you that if you read pages, the decision is around 20 pages, but all you have to do is read from page 7, background, to page 10. It's 3 pages. It's in plain English, and it describes the facts of the case. Now, these are now the facts of the case. If somebody said to you, we have the word alternative facts in our lexicon due to the former president of the United States.
Right.
In this instance, these are the facts of the case going forward. And the court remanded the case back to the district court.
Right.
What makes the decision, and I was just talking about this with a very skilled attorney last night who handles cases like this, and she and I agreed that we have never, ever seen a court make certain statements. And I'm going to read them because they're important enough. These are questions that the court has stated that the public has nothing to do with the legal case. The legal case is that the court is asking the city and the police of White Plains to answer. And if you don't mind, I'm going to read them from the court case. For example, what factors and reasoning supported the officer's decision to force entry when they did, rather than seeking to de-escalate the situation before doing so? That's a question that we as residents of White Plains should get an answer. Why were Chamberlain's close relatives, one of whom was on site, not employed by the police in an attempt to resolve the confrontation without bloodshed? That's an answer, irrespective of what going forward. What was the significance, if any, of the crude epithets, if ultimately proven to have been in fact uttered, used by the police at or about Chamberlain before their fatal forced entry? Why did the officers enter the apartment with a taser, handguns, and a beanbag shotgun if they were there to administer emergency medical aid? And in a broader focus, why did the police officers, after the various events of the morning of November 19th, 2011, decide they had to break down the door and enter Chamberlain's house? They could have sat there for another 3 hours. What was the rush? You know, in other words, these are questions that the court is saying the residents of White Plains should get from the administration and the police.
These are also questions that the family has been asking for 11 years. And a lot of the people who have followed, like Black Westchester, who have been following the case, have been asking for 11 years. So we're glad that the court finally did ask these questions, because we have all been asking these questions for 11 years now.
With no answers. So
with no answers, no, you know, I mean, and the city hasn't even acknowledged, you know, after I wrote the thing about y'all adopting the resolution, I got calls from a city council person who I'm not going to call him out there right now, who, you know, basically expressed that he wanted to say stuff, but his hands were tied. And, you know, I find stuff like that, you know, that's what's wrong with politics. That's why I can't be a politician, because I would probably get kicked out of office for saying too much, because this stuff need to be said. And you hire these people, you elect people to represent you, and you know what I mean? And it's like, you know, they fail you in situations like this. I also want to say, and I say this often, I give Kenneth Chamberlain Jr. a lot of credit. This man had his father murdered by the police department and still saw some of those police officers in the street for all of this time. No one could blame him if he just got on some F the police mentality. But this man starts the Westchester Coalition for Police Reform to help better police community relations, and works with all police departments, including the department that killed his father, that takes no culpability of it. And not only that, in every other case where someone has lost a loved one at the hands of the police, he has been there for them, stood there with them, and helped them through it. While he himself has never mourned for his father, because he has been fighting for justice and accountability for 11 years. And I don't think that can be said enough. And there's going to be people who are watching this, who are hearing about this for the first time. And I definitely want to put that out there. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I have so much respect for that brother, to be honest. Like,
talk about taking the higher road. And I've talked to Charlene about this. I genuinely believe that he is out there to serve a higher purpose beyond his father's killing.
Absolutely.
And so he's just, you know, he's enacting that. So, and it's great to see that he's holding to his, because I know it must be so difficult to sustain yourself when this is happening to you, and it's like a continuation. The 11 years must seem like a century.
And during that time, he lost his daughter.
Yes.
I was with him going to Brooklyn. I can't remember the family's name. It was the 1-year anniversary of their son being killed, and they were having a rally. And it was the day Tish James said that, you know, that they were not going to be, AG's office was not going to be pressing charges on officers. And he's out there with them. And on the way back, his daughter had passed, and they were not sure if it was her, and they identified that it was her. And he got the news on the way back. You understand what I'm saying? So now he's mourning his daughter, and then he just lost his mother. And he has not missed a beat. And I say that for the people listening, like, whether you're watching this live, and we're going to put this on Black Westchester, and we're going to share this everywhere, so a lot of people are going to see this, you know, somewhere down the line. We have to keep this brother prayed up, and we have to stand with him and support him. When he calls for a call to action, we all need to be there. Because I tell you what, if it happens to your family, he's one of the calls you're going to make, and he will be there for you, even though he's dealing with this. So this is one of those things. Let's not wait till it hits your doorstep before you get involved in this fight for accountability and justice. And I just want to put all that out there.
No, but you're absolutely right, because on Saturday when I saw him, my husband and I were talking to him, and during that time we got interrupted like 10 times. People coming to him. This is something that occurs to him every day. People are constantly saying, "We got you, brother. We're praying for you." But he has to live this every single day.
And every time
Every
he
day.
tells the story,
So
and every time he speaks at the movie being played, and every time he goes on another court date, and he has to
relives it
relive
over.
this. He has come on my show. He must have told the story at least 20 times, and he has to relive it every time, and every network he got. But he does this because, and it's not just about just his father at this point, it's for accountability and justice, so that hopefully no more families have to go through what they're going through.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so true.
Alan wanted to say something.
I just want to make two factual observations. In the court decision, the facts, and it's hard for anybody to believe, and this is from the court, because Charlene and Evelyn know that I only deal with facts.
Right.
I don't make them up. I give people facts, and then you have to come back to me. And so the court says there are approximately 12 officers in the augmented police force when they attempted to gain entry. Now, that is hard for me to comprehend, that Mr. Chamberlain was such a danger to the White Plains police force, which I think has 190 police officers, that 12 police officers were in the front of his door at the time they entered the apartment. The other thing I do want to mention, and I think Evelyn and Charlene, as I mentioned, our issues committee is only 10 people. The White Plains Democratic City Committee has about 80 or 90 people. So when we presented this resolution, I think we were not sure whether it was going to pass, right, Charlene?
Correct.
We were not, this is obviously a sensitive, difficult topic. Well, I could tell you that the discussion was serious, but respectful. The elected officials, who are also most of them are a member of the committee, are district leaders, abstained. Some did not appear. We're not sure. The mayor didn't. Part of the dialogue when the elected officials made that claim, Mr. Wilson, what you were talking about, that they would like to make a statement, but the lawyers and the insurance companies are prohibited.
That's exactly what I was told, right?
Yeah. A number of the members of the White Plains Democratic City Committee, not the Issues Committee, the regular members who just heard the resolution, it went out 2 or 3 weeks before, so they had plenty of time to read it. And I think we were surprised. Their comments were that we didn't elect the lawyers and the insurance companies to represent us. It's time that the city of White Plains should do the right thing, to quote a very famous filmmaker. And I think it was overwhelmingly passed, right, Charlene?
It was.
There was hardly any dissent of the members passing it. So it was not just the 10 members of the Issues Committee, it was 40 or 50 members of the White Plains Democratic City Committee. And people who are listening have to understand that we're Democrats, and we're talking to a Democratic mayor and 6 Democratic Common Council people. So this is not Republican or Democrat. This is members of the Democratic Party saying things have to change.
Absolutely. I just want to, I see some people just tuning in. For those just tuning in, this is a special edition of Black Westchester Power Hour. We're talking to members of the Issues Committee of the White Plains Democratic City Committee. And I just want to, on Thursday, May 26th, the Issues Committee of the White Plains Democratic City Committee adopted a resolution regarding the 2011 killing of Kenneth Chamberlain Sr. at the hands of the White Plains Police and ongoing police reform. We urge the city to enter into a reasonable and adequate settlement in which the city acknowledges the officer's culpability in this matter, the resolution states. I just want to just for anybody tuning in now, that we have members of the Issues Committee here that adopted this resolution. And I wanted to, like I said, I broke hiatus because I thought this was an important enough conversation that we need to have.
And Mr. Woodson, we appreciate you coming out of your hiatus for us. One thing that I'd like to mention is that prior to the resolution, we invited Kenneth to the Issues Committee, the White Plains Democratic City Committee, to speak to us. And it's unfortunate that there were some people, believe it or not, that didn't really even know about the case, or they were, I guess, said they didn't know, or the things that they heard were different. They were saying that it wasn't for real or whatever. But again, Kenneth came and spoke with us and poured out his heart. And I don't think people realize that this is a man. This is a man with feelings, and losing your father in such a way, we can only imagine. We can only imagine what he is dealing with.
Now, let me ask you a question. Now, the resolution has been adopted, and you answered the question I was going to ask. How did the rest of the committee respond? But you answered that. Now that the resolution is adopted, what would you like to see happen from this point? What would you like to see that adoption of this resolution accomplish?
Closure. We need for the city to acknowledge the culpability of the police officers. They're responsible, and we need them to acknowledge. We need the city to apologize to this man. We don't ask them to put a dollar amount on it. We need you to apologize to this family. That's what I want to see happen. Evelyn.
Same. I think that the culpability is the very important issue. And I one thing that I wish is that people separate the money issue from the culpability issue, because no amount of money is going to make this man's father come back. And I've even heard words like, well, they're not being good players in this because they're asking for whatever ridiculous amount, $300 million. And when I heard this, my reply was, well, then what price do you put on your father who was shot in the living room of his own home? What price is adequate? And that person stayed very quiet. So I think it's two separate issues. I think that one is a way of perhaps fulfilling justice, but we just have to keep our focus on, this was a man. It could have been anybody's father. He was a veteran. He was a 20-year corrections department worker. It could have been anybody that any of us knew as a resident of White Plains. I think that's we have to remember that, and not the dollar amount, whatever it is.
Mr. Woodson, I believe the case has to be settled, both legally and settlement at this stage, because it's not a criminal case. This is a civil case. It has to be settled, unfortunately, with money. That's how cases like this are settled.
Right.
So we can't be naive about it. The status of the case as it is now is that it's back in the district court. the city and the police officers have moved to dismiss the case again. The Chamberlain family has opposed that dismissal. And as we sit here right now, we are waiting for the decision of the federal judge, the same judge who ruled initially. I'm not going to try to get into the weeds about why it goes back to the same judge. That's our system. And I'm not involved in the legal aspects of the case. And all of us here are just following it. And it could very well be that the city is waiting to hear what the judge has to say. But people have asked us why, you asked us why we are doing this, okay? And again, we asked a lot of attorneys, what roles do we have? Well, we don't have a legal role because we are not the attorneys for the Chamberlain family. In the same vein, we are not legally, nobody on the committee works for the city of White Plains. We're just regular residents who have to be Democrats. And this is a policy, the values that the White Plains Democratic City Committee now has adopted, that this case has to be settled.
Right. I've talked about this case from every angle that you can talk about it. I just wanted to, put y'all on the screen, and I wanted to talk to y'all about this resolution. I applaud y'all for doing that. I have, as I told Charlene, Evelyn, and Alan, I have been very highly documented, very critical of all elected officials, all leaders, the Democratic Party, everybody for not speaking up. There's so many leaders who can speak up. I mean, I've been with Kenneth when he was going to have like a rally for his father, and people were telling him they couldn't make it because the football game was on. As I said, there was an incident with a swastika and painted on a dumpster in White Plains, and every leader, every politician, everybody was there. It was standing room only for this. For not that that's not a problem and it's not an issue and it's not somewhat of a hate crime, but it's a swastika on a dumpster. This is the killing of a man at the hands of the police. And I'm critical of our black pastors who have not been upfront. At one of the cases, the last case, some of the white clergy sat in the front row and got there early because they knew that the police would be on the other side. And it was a row full of white clergy. Mm-hmm. Our black pastors have been absent. Our leaders have been silent. Maybe, I don't want to throw somebody under the bus because they talked to me in confidence, but it was the whole thing about the insurance and the lawyer and all of that stuff. And I still don't understand how that's an issue.
Not to cut you off, Mr. Woodson, but I think it was in February or March, I was invited to Allen's synagogue where they actually held a forum on the Kenneth Chamberlain case. Mm-hmm. So seeing, again, it wasn't a black church that invited Mr. Chamberlain, Kenneth in,
right,
to speak. I can't say what churches have addressed it from their pulpit or just from within their congregation, right, on a Zoom meeting or whatever. But I can say that Allen's synagogue did address the issue, and not just that issue, but all issues, racial issues, tension, housing, everything. So where are our black churches?
A black leader. I mean, and it's not just to throw the churches under the bus.
It's not just the churches, right?
It's our black leaders. Where are our black leaders? We come out for a lot of things that are less important. The same way, what happened to George Floyd was egregious,
Yeah.
but that happened 1,100 miles away. What happened to Mike Brown was egregious, but that happened over 1,000 miles away. What happened to Eric Garner was egregious, but that happened, miles away in Staten Island. We came out stronger in numbers for those individuals and Breonna Taylor and Ahmaud Arbery than we have ever come out for Kenneth Chamberlain, Delroy Henry, Christopher Ridley, Jonathan Maldonado, Kamal Flowers, and the list goes on in Westchester
Right.
County alone. We have, and that's why, like I told you, I'm releasing a book next year. Westchester has its own George Floyd's, a deep dive into police brutality, reform, and the families impacted, because we have to talk about what's going on here in our backyard. I mean, it's good to be outraged over George Floyd. It's good to be outraged over Eric Garner, all of those situations. But where's that outrage for Kenneth Chamberlain?
Right.
And I'm talking about from the county, but even in the city of White Plains, you know what I mean? Like, we go to these vigils every year. It's the same people, maybe one or two new people there.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Outside the courthouse, it's the same people, maybe one or two people there. And ironically, sometimes there's more white people and white women than there are people that look like us.
And this past November, it was.
Yes, and it's been like that. Those are the ones who are out there when they march on the DOJ in the city. Those are the ones I saw out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, and it's a shame. We have to demand better. We have to want better. And I applaud y'all once again for stepping up. I don't know what it's going to do. If it does nothing else but keep it in the headlines, to keep it in people's minds, to make sure that this never goes away. If that's all your resolution accomplishes, that is still a victory. Because, a lot of people would like this to go away. Like Evelyn said, I don't want to be, this to be represent where I live. Just that's, who wants that to be representative, national movie, and people hear White Plains, they think of Kenneth Chamberlain. But I mean, I think it's necessary, and another thing at the court case, I did see Black people there, but the problem was they were from the city. They were from Brooklyn. They were from Spring Valley. They were from the Bronx. There were more of them there than there were people from Westchester.
Wow.
And that says something.
That says a lot.
So I applaud y'all, because I am often very critical of any leadership and of the party's leadership as well. So Evelyn, go ahead.
Can I, Mr. Woodson, because you've been so involved and so vocal about this case, what do you, I want to kind of direct a question at you. What do you think the reasoning is that we don't see that? Like, what do you attribute it to? What you've just referred to, that you might see more white clergy, or you might see the same people, and what would you attribute it to?
So I watched an old movie, and one of the brothers from the struggle, I guess he was back on the block, and he saw one of the other brothers, and he was like, "Yo, where's all the brothers? They all got government jobs." You understand? Some of these Black pastors, and I'm on record saying some of these Black pastors get funding from the county.
I use
They're not going to speak about things.
Right. I use the term, and Alan and Charlene, I talk about, and I hope it doesn't sound too vulgar, but suckling at the teat.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
One of the things, like I was just saying, promotion. I wrote a book, Black Westchester: The Origin Story. One of the things Damon and I talk about, while people use this, we are truly unbought and unbossed, and we are truly free to do but freedom comes at a price, because we are so. outspoken. There are some people that will never advertise with us. There are some elected officials and some governments that will never advertise with us. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to stop doing what we're doing we've turned down money from people that we desperately needed to continue. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why I understand some people work on the inside, and I respect that, because sometimes they are my sources and I can't name them. They're worried about their pension. They're worried about their job. Yeah. And that is a group of people, and I understand that, and they should just say that. You know what I'm saying? Like, just that's what it is. That's what it is. I mean, that's a real thing. That is a real thing. Can
I ask one more question? Because I think that, or actually I'd like to make somewhat of a statement, because I've gotten a little bit of backlash from people that I know very well who are members of the police. So there has to be this line drawn between being able to speak up and speak for justice and speak for something that was so egregiously wrong, and not being determined or being labeled as anti-police, because I am not anti-police. I am anti what happened here, anti-injustice. And I think that do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because I'm sure that has come up. Like, you don't have to be one or the other. Venn diagram. Oh, that was you? Okay. If there's
I have my air conditioning off, so I have my windows open, and unfortunately there's a certain amount of that noise you're going to hear. So I wasn't able to mute myself in time.
So I'm a teacher. There's a Venn diagram, right? Two interlocking circles. One is, you're pro-police, and one is you're pro-justice. You can be in the middle of that and and you can be for both. And that's where I think that people have this misconception that if you speak up, you're anti-police. Have you faced that yourself, Mr. Woodson? And I'm sorry, I don't mean to turn the tables on you and be the interviewer, but I think that, it's an issue that has come up for me. I have two very, very close friends, part of other art organizations, and they were like, "Oh my God, I wouldn't touch that if I were you."
So to answer your question, well, since we're Black Westchester, I speak specifically like for Black issues and Black people, even though we do Black and brown issues. What I find out in America, if you are pro-Black, you are labeled anti-something. So you're either anti-Semitic, you're anti-police, you're anti-something. And, you're just speaking for Black pride. The same thing for brown pride. If you speak up, for you're anti-something. You know what I'm saying? Like, no other group of people. You can have Irish pride, you can have Italian pride, you can have LGBTQ pride, you can have every other kind of pride and speak for your people. But specifically Black, and I include brown people, when we are pro-Black or pro-brown, we are labeled anti-something. And Damon has a joke. His wife is a Mount Vernon police detective. He said, "I can't be anti-police. I go to sleep with one police officer every night. Like, I can't be anti-police." He's law enforcement. He's in correction for 33 years. Right. He's not we're not anti-police. We're anti-corrupt police. We're anti anybody in power
who doesn't do the right thing.
Their misuses or abuses their power and takes advantage of the people they are supposed to be serving. I will always be anti that. I don't care if you're Black, white, whatever, because I feel like I hold the Black elected officials feet to the fire even more, because they should know better. Mm-hmm. You understand what I'm saying? So I do want to say one thing, Evelyn. So one of my co-hosts, Lorraine Lopez, I guess. Yes. She mentioned that she's a good friend. She's one to say hello.
Yes. I contacted her actually. Yes.
I put this together. This kind of came together after the resolution, and we went back and forth. And like I said, I was on hiatus. So
it's funny, one of her brother is one of my friends. That's like he's can only see things from the police lens.
Yes. Yeah. I am friends with Hector. Yes, I am friends with Hector. I am friends with Hector. Shout out to Hector.
Hector.
So I'd like to lift it a little bit. If you go to the White Plains Library right now, you will see a very moving and wonderful exhibit of Martin Luther King Jr., the last photographs taken from his last year of his life, from November 1967 until his assassination. And all of us attended when the exhibit opened, and we heard there was a number of speakers, but none was more brilliant than Joy Bevins, the director of the Schoenberg Library. And I think if everybody gets a chance to look at the exhibit, and personally, because Mr. Woodson, you and I were talking, my commencement speaker in June of 1965 was Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So, and I think he represents the complexity of leadership, all leadership, not just Black leadership, but all leadership. But at the end of the day, he was willing to sacrifice almost everything, including his life, to do the right thing.
You know, Miss Bivens, when she spoke, she said there was one photograph of Martin Luther King, and she said, look at his eyes. From the age of 26 to 39, can you imagine the weight that he carried for the people? Look into his eyes, how he was with his family, the community, white folks disliking him, Black folks disliking him, but yet he still stood. I encourage people to look at Kenneth's eyes, look into his eyes, and the weight that he has to carry for his family, for other people who are going through what he's gone through. Look at the weight this young man has to carry on his shoulders. And why? And again, white people don't like him. Black people don't like him. He's done nothing wrong, but just trying to get justice. We look at it, and sometimes we have to say, justice, is it just for us? Can we get it? Can Kenneth get the justice that's needed? Can these police officers, can our city apologize? This man is carrying some heavy weight, and we have to make the people accountable.
I want to change the topic real quick, especially with y'all being with the issues committee of the party. So everyone is talking about the Supreme Court rulings on Roe versus Wade and the overturning the concealed gun carrying. What they're not talking about is making it illegal to sue police officers who do not read you your Miranda rights.
Yes.
To me, this is the issue that is going to most affect our community and that we're hearing the least about. And since I have a forum, every chance I get, I am going to shout that from the mountain. That we need to understand what this is going to, what this means, and we need to know about it. We definitely need to be discussing it, and there should be some pushback. I don't know how you push back against the Supreme Court, but there needs to be some pushback, and we need to be addressing this. And I'm not saying that Roe v. Wade is not an important topic. I'm not saying that Carrie overturning is not an important topic, but
the Miranda rights.
Your Miranda rights, which in it is rights. The word right is in it. Miranda rights. It's your right. It's the right. It's an amendment and they're overturning that. That is the beginning of the slippery slope that they were talking about. And I want to address everybody who is going to hear this eventually, everybody who's hearing it now. They're not finished. they're trying to strip away all the rights.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
And everyone needs to wake up.
Wake up.
We have to stop waiting for things to happen to us and then we react.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We need to be proactive on some stuff. We need to be standing up on some stuff. We need to fight. And you know, this is horrible. So I just, again, I couldn't end without throwing that out there. And for people, some people are going to hear this for the first time, like that they don't know that this is a thing. That was one of the rulings of the Supreme Court just recently, but we only heard about the other two.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. We have to be out there and, as you say, mention it at every turn we get.
Anything okay, go ahead, Alan. I know Alan got some paper. He grabbed some papers.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anything I did not ask you that you want known about what y'all are doing and what y'all are trying to do?
Well, the last thing is that we are encouraging everybody to email the mayor and the members of the White Plains Common Council. And we've had other presentations, right, Charlene? And
yes.
And a number of people, you can look them up and simply say that you're in support of the White Plains Democratic City Committee Chamberlain resolution and email it to the mayor and the 6 members of the Common Council. You could Google
Flood their emails.
Yeah.
And also see the movie. I think that it's fiction. You know, I've been told it's a fictionalized account, but it's pretty accurate if you ask Kenneth Chamberlain Jr. And I think that so that you don't have that misconception you mentioned earlier about, oh, that was the old man that attacked the police with a hatchet or machete or whatever. It was, you know.
Well, I had the pleasure of interviewing the director, the producer, Frankie Faison, and Kenneth Chamberlain about the movie. So it's based on a true event. There were some characters. So for all the people in law enforcement who say that this was not a true account and there was some fiction, let me tell you the fictional part. The officer who cared, the officer who said they shouldn't be doing this, that didn't happen. Right. That's the fictional part.
Wow.
That was the main fictional part of this movie. they added that for
they had to have a protagonist in there.
Right. So they added that in there.
Wow.
So that's one of the main things that because I've been told by PBA presidents and stuff, they say this is not based on the facts. That's what the main part that was not based on facts is. That officer did not exist. Wow. So I mean, just to throw that out there, you know, and you can go look it up, Google the killing of Kenneth Chamberlain, Black Westchester, and the show will come up, a video like this, and you can see and hear from the producer, the director, and Frankie Faison, who played Kenneth Chamberlain himself. You can hear from them what they did in their process of and they spoke to Kenneth a lot. They created, you know, they went a lot by, and they used a lot of the actual audio from the call from the Life Alert audio. You know,
that was a good thing. The operator never cut off. She stayed on.
So that's actual audio. You know, that caught even them calling him the N-word, which Janet DeFiore said that it wasn't a hate crime; it was a deterrent, a distraction. While they gained entrance into his apartment. So you know, there's that. So, y'all did what I was going to do. Lastly, a call to action, and your call to action was everybody flood the mayor of White Plains and the Common Council of White Plains. Flood their emails, send letters if that's what you do. Feel free to pick up the phone. Wait, feel free to pick up the phone. Right. Feel free to pick up the phone and blow up their phone lines.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, blow them up on social media. That seems to be effective. People don't like to be called out on Twitter and stuff like that.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So, hit them from you have to hit them from every angle. And you have to let them know that you are not going to settle for this. And several members are up for re-election next year or the year after. So, there's that.
Okay.
Yeah. Any last words?
Thank you again
Thank
for
you.
coming out of your hiatus for us.
Oh, absolutely.
I lost my mic.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. Absolutely. Like I said, my body is still here, but my mind is already on vacation, and it's just waiting for my body to catch up. Right now. So, lastly, I do want to plug. We just released a new book. It's Black Westchester: The Origin Story, and how my faith was instrumental in this great experiment. It is available right now on Amazon, or you can reach out to me. Thank you, Terry Watson said, can't wait to read it. Yes. Thank you for listening, Terry. It's available on Amazon, and if you want an autograph copy, you can order it directly from me. Just hit me, Mr. AJ Woodson at gmail.com, and I'll give you, how you can pay, and give me your address, and I will mail you an autograph copy. This tells the story, the 8 years of us getting started, what we put into it, what we've been through, some of the ups and downs, and all of that. And I think it's a very good story on the history of Black Westchester and why we decided to do this. So I had to put that out there. It's on Amazon again, and if you want to autograph copy, you can just. I will be at the Mount Vernon Public Library Thursday, July 21st, and I will be at the Greenberg Public Library Saturday, August 20th. I will be doing an author talk / Q&A book signing. I will have books available to purchase on the spot, and I will be autographing them. So come out and meet me there if you're in the area. And I will be doing others, but those are the first two that I have scheduled right now. So, and I was just shout out to Kobe and her organization, Kobe Jenkins, Women Who Dare to Be Different. She invited me and gave me a table Saturday to come out to her event. So I was out there in Greenberg at the Theodore Young Community Center this past Saturday as well. So, if you want,
did you think about going out to in July? There's the first 914 hair and fashion show.
You know what? I'm trying to get to everything, but I am also the chief cook and bottle washer of Black Westchester. I am the editor, the writer, the marketing department, the advertising department, the radio show host, the producer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it is hard for me to get out to everywhere. So I am trying to juggle this double life right now. I'm so sorry that Evelyn lost her sound, but thank you for coming on, everybody. Greatly appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
If you ever need to reach me, again, blackwestchester@gmail.com. Reach me if you have issues you want to see us address. Call us, and I'm looking for community engagement on the Miranda rights situation. I want people to look that up. Email me, blackwestchester@gmail.com. I'm trying to get as much engagement from the community. I could write this article, but I want to get feedback from the community of what the community thinks. Our community leaders, our regular community members. I want to hear from all of you. Terry said AJ has multiple hats. Yes, that's and that's why I need to take several breaks a year, and I'm taking a break for from the 1st to the 10th, and getting away and putting Westchester in my rear view and getting the heck out of here. I will be back the show will be back second or third week of July. We're on every Sunday, 6 to 8, People Before Politics. You can catch everything on the website, blackwestchester.com, all our email addresses. This is a book order through Amazon. I'll get there. Yes. Okay. So again, I think to answer Charlene, so yes, you can order it directly through Amazon, or I have it all over Facebook and stuff. I put it in my PayPal and my Cash App. You can just pay me directly and give me your address, and I will sign it and mail you a copy, an autographed copy. Or again, Mount Vernon Public Library or Greenberg Library, you can pop up at either one of those, and I will be there with plenty of books.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Let's see if Evelyn can hear back. She got back on. Can you hear
I
now?
can hear you now.
Since you were gone for a minute, any last words? Anything that you want to add?
Just thank you for inviting us. We're just happy to be a small part of doing the right thing for this family, and that's all. Thank you.
It takes all of us, like me on the media side. What y'all are doing? Several other groups that are trying to do the things that they're doing, and it's going to take all of us to continue to keep this thing alive and make sure that people don't forget it, and to educate people what really happened and the facts. And I appreciate Alan really breaking down the facts and the stuff that was in that decision. That's very important. So feel free. If y'all ever got an issue y'all want to address, contact me. Y'all feel like you want to do an editorial, we have this is a community paper and a community website. Please feel free. If you just want to pick up a pen and you want to address an issue, please feel free to and that goes for everybody who's listening. With that, I will bid y'all adieu, and I'm going to go back into planning my mass exodus in 48 hours.
Thank you again, Mr. Woodson. Thank you.
All right. Y'all have a blessed holiday weekend.
You too.
All right.
Thanks.
You are now tuned into the People Before Politics radio show, brought to you by the good folks at
Black Westchester. Black Westchester. Black Westchester. Black Westchester. Check the newspaper. Black Westchester. Black Westchester. Black Westchester. Check the newspaper.
Real talk for the community since 2014.